All right, so we've started broadcasting. We'll just wait and see everybody coming through. Hi, everyone. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Everyone's coming through now. We'll just give them a second or to log in. Oh, great. They're all coming through. Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. Hey, let's see if Anthea, can you send us a comment in the chat so we can see that you can hear us and see us okay? Yes. Oh, yep. Hi, Remy. Hello. Good to see you guys. Well, welcome. Normally we'd be doing this event in person. So this is our first time that we're doing a virtual event. So it's so nice that you could all come and join us from your comfort of your restaurants or cafes or sometimes home if you're lucky to have a lampshade like that, like Nikki. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. The whole reason that we're here today is, I guess, to really share some stories and some information. And this is our first event. We're doing a couple of these live virtual events, and I just want to keep seeing all these great chats coming down the bottom. So this is like a networking event as well. So feel free to share any of your personal details that you want to share with where you're from, any email addresses or LinkedIn accounts to be able to get some extra connections out there and chat amongst yourselves. If you have any questions for us, just pop them down in the bottom in the question and answer box. So we've got three amazing panelists today. We've got Terry, Nikki, and Kim. So Terry's our numbers man, and he's going to talk to us first of all around numbers and the plan moving forward. Nikki is our, oh, she's amazing. So Nikki's talking to us about some social media and PR and what you can do with your contacts and your customers, how to re-engage. And then we've got Kim Teo, who is CEO and founder of Mr. Yum. So a little bit of technology, a little bit about what she's been learning through, I guess, the last few months as well with her business. And so I think that, I know that we've got not just Victorians on the webinar today, but we've also got some people from all over the country. And I know even though that restrictions are definitely lifting, and I know that with Victoria, you're the last cab off the rank with moving to 50 from next week. So well done and how exciting. That doesn't mean it's the end. And I think that this is just the beginning of your recovery phase. And it's really important to look at what you've learned over the last few months and start making a plan for the next 6 to 12 months, because it doesn't mean just because restrictions are lifting that it becomes easier for you. It just means that we need to start thinking differently about the way that we're able to work in our business. And today's about you at least walking away with a few tips and tricks and things that you can add to your business to be able to move forward in that next phase. So I'm going to kick it off to Terry. So Terry, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, welcome to everyone in the webinar. My name's Terry Stramotas. I'm a director at DFK Benjamin King Money. We're an accounting firm. I'm a numbers man. Once again, I'd like to repeat that I hope from today's webinar, from myself, Kim and Nikki, you walk away with something to help you with recover your business and grow your business. I suppose in preparing for today's presentation, it was the timing was actually quite good in that in the Age the Good weekend, there was about 2 weeks ago, there was a write-up on Ben Shuri from Attica. And the heading that caught my attention is, the guy went from creating $310 degustation menus for international foodies. He went from that to driving around Melbourne delivering lasagnas. So Ben was quite, had to quite heavily reinvent the business. A couple of things that stood out in the article, and that is, for a small business owner, this has been a terrifying period. And the second thing is to challenge what you've been doing, because it's not business as usual. And that's very true. The last 2 months have certainly, not only in restaurant and catering, but for a large number of businesses, has been truly a challenging time. So what I'm hoped out of today is to give you some ideas on how to create some comfort and how to create some certainty. I was going to talk a little bit about the importance of doing a budget. I've got a couple of smaller issues in terms of JobKeeper and year-end tax planning. But look, let's start with the budget. So since March, the following issues have affected our businesses. There's been clearly a significant drop in income. We've received, most of the restaurant and catering are eligible for JobKeeper subsidy for the wages. We've seen rent reductions, we've seen rent deferrals, we've seen payment arrangements go in place with the suppliers, and with the ATO, debt deferrals in terms of GST and POEG for the staff. There's been extension of bank facilities to the tune of 250,000, and there's also been deferral of business loan repayments. So there's been a lot of things going on. But even before COVID came along, and certainly in my experience with restaurant and catering and discussions with members, you know, the margins have been thin for a while. The labour costs have been of a concern, and obviously there's been some high profile action or legal action in that, and occupancy cost has continued to grow. The government incentives that we've seen come out in the last 2 months, while they are very well intentioned and effective at this point in time, they have really kicked the can down the road. And we are sort of living in a bubble. Certainly in terms of JobKeeper, it's expected to be around to the end of September. And they are tweaking with it and trying to bring a little bit of equity and anomalies under control. I'm also aware that in terms of restaurant and catering, there are discussions going on about extending it out to the end of the year, the end of the calendar year, but they're just discussions at this stage. For many people attending the seminar today, I'm sure you'll sigh when you hear me say it's important to have a budget and to prepare a budget. And for many of us, it's something that inevitably the bank asks for, and we get our accountant or our bookkeeper to knock it together and hopefully gets the finance over the line. What I'm suggesting is to sort of sit down and look at a budget as a planning tool, to look at your income patterns and your expense patterns, and really use it as a roadmap to see that, to map out that your business is viable, that it will be viable. In preparing a budget, you're faced with decisions on where you need the business to be in order to remain viable. In particular, I think we should be considering the following. What do you expect your monthly sales to be from now to Christmas? And that discussion can start with mapping out your days, mapping out a week, and then that becomes a month's worth of sales. So we map out where we see us from now to the end of Christmas. How do you staff for that? And then you start bringing into these discussions the ATO arrangements, the rent deferrals, the bank extensions, and any other any other expenditure that's required to refocus the business or to get the business to reinvent itself as required. If you focus on your income, if you focus on your staffing levels and things like the ATO and that, the residual expenses, the rest of the expenses of the business will fall into place quite easily. So all we need to do is map out your activity, and then to a large degree, the rest of it will fall into place.
Terry, it's amazing how many people don't have budgets though in their business.
Correct.
It's
correct.
Now I think a lot of people have had that time to actually analyze that and have a look at it, but it's so many restaurants just have never had the time or thought about putting it down on paper. But how important is it?
I think up until the last few months, it's been business as usual. So as long as your food's good, as long as you've got a good reputation, as long as your rostering is right, you'll more or less, it's business as usual. There's been so many changes and there's been so many deferrals And many in the restaurant and catering, you know, we're always constantly, because a lot of what you're buying is GST free, and what you're selling has GST on it. You know, those quarterly or monthly bills can be a diabolical, and they quickly catch up on you. So we've had these deferrals, we've had the rent deferrals, we've had the business loan deferrals, and all we've done is just pushed it towards the end of the year. The question is, how do you structure your business from now to the end of September? And how do you then have a viable business, including the catch-up payments, moving forwards? So, and again, that's what I sort of go on to say. By going through the process, issues that require attention become quite clear. So I mentioned about the COVID and the JobKeeper subsidy up until September, and as opposed to what will your income and your labour be after that? Is the estimated revenue sufficient to cover the existing payment arrangements, including the ATO, the landlords, etc., etc.? Consider options on how to address any concerns. I mean, it will become clear once you start putting the numbers down. It does become clear, should become clear, whether you've got sufficient income, whether you can cover the existing, you know, the business expenses on a month-to-month basis, as well as the catch-up payments. Consider also the services of Mr. Yum and milk bottle projects. I mean, if your top line is, if you have concerns about your top line or attracting or generating the income, you know, these are options to consider. As each month progresses, you have a revenue target. So by going through the exercise, you know that, you know, in July, I need to target $100,000. I need to do that at 25 a week. I need to, that, you know, as the week goes by, you can see how you're traveling. It becomes your roadmap. In terms of presenting for today, I appreciate that there's a broad range of members, and some businesses, as you mentioned earlier, don't go through a process. Other businesses do have targets in terms of with their locations and with their restaurants. They've got sales targets, revenue targets, and cost targets. What I'm saying is, let's look at the bigger picture, look at where we are in terms of what our weekly and monthly revenue is, and how do we generate that, as well as catching up on for what's been happening since March. While it would be convenient for me to say, sit with your accountant and get a budget prepared, or go through the process with an accountant, the reality is, in products like Xero and in MYB, they already have the tools built into them, and they already carry your historical information. So to then spit out a budget, or to sit down and get some raw numbers for a budget, it does become quite not a straightforward exercise, but it's not as onerous as it sounds. You'll then have something that you can sit down with your business partners, or with your bookkeeper, or with your external accountant, and say, look, this is what I've drafted. This is what it looks like. Are there areas that I'm missing, or are there areas of concern? So that, to me, I think for a lot of the members at this point in time, with the way things are going, you really do need to sit down and sort of have a good hard look at your business and how it's travelling. In terms of
if I touch on what you mentioned there, you're right, we are in a bubble. You know, at the moment, we're in a bit of a false economy, because, yeah, 100%, when it gets to the end of September, then everything turns back on again overnight. So that's exactly why the next few months are so important, to be ready for that, to be able to understand, what do I need? Where is my business sitting right now? What are my targets? Share the targets with the team. You know, the team need to be on board with that as well. Or how am I going to make that target? If that's what I need to achieve, yes, what am I going to do? What am I going to do to be able to reach that target forecast? What are some other options? Well, how can I be creative? We are working with trying to extend JobKeeper to the end of the year, and even further if we can. I think that while we've got this 1 person per 4 square meters happening at the moment, it's impossible for the normal even to be normal, because you can't be at your full occupancy. And it's going to take time for consumers to come back. So I think having it on paper and having a plan is the most important thing to be doing right now.
Oh, no doubt about it. And look, with a lot of the businesses at the moment that we're seeing, if you get your rostering right, you're eligible for JobKeeper, you get your rostering right, your labour becomes heavily subsidised, if not free. You then have a reduction in your rent and a deferral of your rent. So, you know, some businesses, it's been interesting to see some of these smaller cafes as they're more profitable now as takeaway venues than they were as a Saturday morning breakfast venue. So, and the larger ones are interesting because the larger restaurants actually, with the social distancing, that they can be marginal, if not viable, as long as the social distancing. So I've had a couple of clients who've said, we'll just stick to takeaway while the social distancing's in place, because they're not viable, you know, with table service, etc., etc. But in terms of JobKeeper, I think, look, in the bigger picture, the restaurant and catering has certainly done a good job in keeping the members informed as to what's going on, and providing the background in terms of JobKeeper. Just a couple of things for people to be mindful about. From 11th of May, again, they're tweaking JobKeeper, as I said. So from the 11th of May, 16 and 17-year-olds must be independent. That must be independent and not undertaking full-time study to be eligible for JobKeeper. So that can be something just something to be mindful of. Make sure that your staff are eligible or they're not applying for it elsewhere, and that can be a little bit difficult to do. But be aware you're receiving the money from the government. Ultimately, you'll be asked to pay it back if the employee's not eligible. There will be, I mean, the government's given some very heavy indications of audit activity after all this is done and dusted. So keep your records, make sure that you know that it's all transparent and everything is above board, or because there is, how do I put this? As part of the application process, as many will know, you're giving them actual information, you're giving them estimated information. They're knowing live what your staff are receiving in terms of wages. So just make sure everything's good. Consider tax audit insurance because there will be activity. Couple of things that, again, in terms of just to keep in mind, be aware that the JobKeeper allowances paid to staff do not necessarily attract superannuation. Don't assume that you have to pay it automatically. And in Victoria, it's been recently announced that work cover and payroll tax, again, where you have JobKeeper allowance being paid and the staff are stood down, you do not necessarily have to pay work cover and payroll tax on that income. Above all else, you've got to please make sure that your payroll system is set up to capture this and to keep isolated the JobKeeper allowances versus the wages paid to staff. Just a couple of things in terms of year-end tax planning. Probably many are aware through restaurant and catering that we had this $150,000 immediately deductible amount for things done before the 30th of June. That's been extended to the end of December, which again gives you a little bit of time to do some remodelling or refurbishing of kitchens and some of those bigger expenses. Superannuation, make sure it's paid before the 30th of June. In all of this idle time, if you've got any food items or anything any items that are nearing the end of the shelf life, if you get rid of it before the 30th of June, again, it helps with your tax bills. And as I mentioned earlier, JobKeeper allowances potentially are excluded from superannuation, work cover and payroll tax. That's it for me.
A couple of good points that have come through. So David, ovens. He's mentioned a good point about having contingencies, and you're right. You know, you need to, just because you've got a forecast or a budget doesn't mean that means that everything's going to be sorted. It's about having options and being aware of those before it happens or as
Correct.
it's happening, so that it's yes. So you're not kind of going, well, but my budget says this, now it's a failure. You know, you need to have some backup plans to be able to say, well, this is obviously now brought to my attention sooner than it wouldn't have been if I didn't have a budget and a plan. So what am I going to do now? You know, what's my next step? I have to, that whole word of pivoting, moving and changing what we do to be able to make sure that works.
Picking up from David's comment, if your income, if you're in the middle of June and you were and your income is was meant to be $30,000 for the month for the sake of the discussion, and you're falling, you know, you're sitting at 10 as of day, you know that you need to hit the $30,000 in order to sustain an expense pattern, a labour pattern and an expense pattern. That by knowing that in advance, I think that would put you in better stead than getting to the end of the month and wondering how you're going to meet your back rent or you know, your ATO installments. It's not about, there is a level of contingency. This is about having a map and a target to work towards.
Yeah, and then we've also got Daniel's mentioned, and this is where the one shoe doesn't fit all scenario, where Daniel's got a couple of restaurants out in regional Victoria, and he just had the best week in the last 6 months in one venue and 18 months in the other venue. Obviously using delivery as well, which is using a third party and with those higher delivery charges. But I think that it's really unusual to see how businesses have changed and what is going to be kept and maintained in the next future, what is being added to their business model, and what's working and what's not working, because you've got other businesses in, I guess, the city who are struggling beyond belief, because, you know, it's illegal still for you to go to work in the city in Melbourne, and the city here in Sydney is still totally shut down. So you've got those poor cafes and restaurants struggling, but those regional areas are often doing quite well because everybody's still going out, and now they're a little bit more and more. So well done to Daniel. And then Angie's just mentioned, oh, no, I don't think that the 1 person per 4 square metre rule is going to be lifted in July. I think it's here for a little bit longer. I know that WA's moved to the 1 person per 2 square metres, but I think the 1 person per 4 square metres is in Victoria for a long while, and then other states for a little while yet. So that again is where being really careful with your forecasts and anticipations on your occupancy is what you need to be aware of, because I do think that that is going to be here for a while. Well, thank you for Terry. Some good points there about end of financial year and tax as well. Nikki, if we can hand over to you and you can give us a little brief about who you are and what you do, we'll hand it over to you, Nikki. And thanks again, Terry.
No worries.
Thanks, Terry. Some really handy points there, Terry. Thanks so much. And I'm really hoping that some of the advice that I can maybe provide actually links into exactly what you're talking about. It's that idea of knowing how much you should be making and how much you want to be making per month, and actually creating ways to make sure that you start hitting those kind of expectations. But nonetheless, a bit of an intro about me first. So hi everyone, I'm Nikki Williams. I run Milk Bottle Projects. We're a PR and digital marketing agency, and we do primarily work with hospitality and lifestyle clients. We've been around for 7 years. We're a team of 6. And long story short, I've seen COVID be this time to not necessarily go everything's awful, everything's terrible. I've actually seen it as a time to completely reset, to rethink, to finally be able to stop and say, how can I make my business better than what it currently is and what it has been? And on top of that, I think it's been a time for consumers to look at our industry and actually see how much they appreciate it, and vice versa for business owners to see how much support and community we have around us. In saying that, yes, I know times are tough. I was speaking to a client last week who said he literally had $8 in his bank account a few weeks ago. So I get it, times are tough. And I think this COVID time is going to pretty much segregate the industry. Some venues, as we've already seen, have closed down. These venues that we thought, you know, would be able to sustain this kind of period, like Long Green, Long Song, Ezards, they're already shut down, doors shut permanently. So I think it is really important to start thinking about your business and how you can sustain yourself and your team throughout this time. In saying this, the 3 things, or 4 things rather, that I'd really like to talk about today is the idea of a multi-revenue business model. Okay, long gone are the days that you are simply popping out coffees and food. You're a hospitality business, and your business needs to be considered as a proper business with multiple different revenue streams. On top of that, I think it's purposeful to look at how you can reset and prepare both for this next few weeks and then for after COVID as well. So I'm going to show you through how to use a very simple marketing calendar. It's a template that I'm more than happy to give you as well. So I'll talk to some of you later if you are interested in using it. Then I'm going to go through PR both now and after COVID and where the opportunities lie in terms of getting your business coverage throughout those digital and physical platforms as well. And then on top of that, just a little bit about social media, both now and after COVID. So some of those big names, I guess, in terms of restaurateurs have been excellent at creating a business model with different revenue flows, okay? And by doing this, you can make sure that you've got a business that isn't, again, just relying on pumping out coffee and food. So a few ways that I've seen businesses do this really creatively are things like cookbooks. Okay, such a simple idea, but if you're doing something independent and different and entrepreneurial in your venue in terms of food, start putting something together, either it be digital, for example, an app or something like that, or a physical cookbook. If people love you and love your community and love what you provide to them on a day-to-day basis, they will help you out. They will buy a cookbook from you. Okay, how about cooking classes? If you've got a function room, for example, that you can repurpose to do cooking classes, why not? Gift vouchers, absolutely. I'm seeing a lot of different venues just, tell their community, hey, we're hurting. We would really love you to show your support now, if ever. Gift vouchers are a great way to do that because it's guaranteed cash. You know that it's already there, and then people who may not even know about your venue actually might start coming in because they've been given the gift voucher. The idea of having a grocery shop in your cafe or restaurant as well is something I've seen really pop up in a huge way. And I think, especially for the rest of 2020, and I'm going to get to this a bit more later, but locality is going to be a huge impactor, if you will, for how people behave going forward. That is, people are going to want to buy their groceries and get their coffee and maybe have breakfast, brunch, and maybe even lunch and maybe even dinner too from the same kind of places around them. Okay, utilize that.
Cocktails too.
Takeaway cocktails, absolutely.
Who loves
exactly.
those? Prepackaged.
I don't have to make them at home anymore. It's brilliant. On top of that, merchandise, if you're creating a name for yourself and a profile for yourself and your venue, why not create cool t-shirts? I think we were talking about the article earlier with Attica, and he's created these brand new t-shirts with Attica on the back, and it looks like an AC/DC sign. Be creative with it, be fun with it, and I think you'll find that the people around you want to support you and they will buy something. Events, when we do have capacity issues at the moment, but you can still do something. You still can. Don't stand still. Start thinking creatively about how you can host people in your venue. Subscriptions to do-it-yourself meals, I'm seeing a lot of, similar to the groceries, like I mentioned before. And then an online e-commerce store. This is the one that I can't stress enough. If you have something to sell that can be sold online, get it live ASAP. In addition, online cooking tutorials or anything that is digital oriented, get it live now, because that's what's going to keep your business going, and it's what is going to be a revenue stream that you don't even have to think about, quite frankly. It's just going to happen behind the scenes. Maybe you have to fulfill a few orders, don't get me wrong, but it's something that you don't have to do too much to get some additional income. Okay. So on that, essentially start thinking digital. Any way that you can go online, you know, there are so many more opportunities out there than simply taking photos and posting to your Instagram and Facebook. Start thinking about that now while we can and while we've got the time to. Okay, so I think now is the time to kind of pre-plan and pre-think what your business could look like on the other side of COVID. If I were you, if I was running a physical business, I'd be trying to think, how can I make this business run even better than it was prior to or during COVID? Because now is where the opportunity really lies. Now, I want to start transferring into PR here. So I don't know how many of you are using a marketing calendar, but I think it's the most important thing that a hospitality business can utilize. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here and just show you a very simple template as mentioned. There we go. Now I'm hoping that you guys can all see this. Can I get an A-OK from Kim and Terry if you can see this?
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Cool.
Yep.
Beautiful. All right. So this is a very, thanks Terry. Cheers. This is a very simple marketing calendar. Okay. Yes, it's got all the days of the year, for example. It's got what day of the week correlates with that date. And then I've separated each of these months into week 1, 2, 3, and 4, as you can see. Now, this is so easy to fill in. Okay, guys, you've got overriding public dates throughout Australia, which should be in this calendar. Things like Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day, etc., which will then allow you to start thinking about the promotion or the incentive, if you will, that you can create to make people come into your venue or I guess interact with your business and produce money for that particular purpose. Okay. In addition to that, you should be thinking about your locality as well. So if you have maybe some sporting sort of clubs in the area and they're doing particular open days or something like that, and you happen to be really creating some kind of marketing tool to reach out to those people because they're going to be in your area and they're probably going to want a coffee, a meal, or something similar. In addition to that, once you have your local events and you have your national events all in this calendar, you can start thinking about how you can market those particular events. So things like partnerships, things like PR, things like formal advertising. Is all the information required on your website? Have you sent out an EDM? Have you sent out, you know, your posts? Have you scheduled your posts for Facebook and Instagram? Are you doing any paid campaigns? Don't just rely on organic, and we'll touch on that shortly as well. Anyone who would like a copy of this, you're more than welcome to get in touch with me after our chat here. Excellent.
Say, I love that on your calendar, how you mentioned on the calendar about days like Gluten-Free Day or Gin Day, International Gin Day. I mean, capitalizing on those days that everyone else, you know, it's a good avenue to be able to talk to people when there's an excuse of a day to celebrate. So it becomes a reason to start posting and creating something. So I love that, of being able to make sure they're all mapped out and have them there.
That's so true. I mean, I think it was World Gin Day yesterday, for example. And to think that we've got 3 different clients who are gin distilleries and they all went, it's what day, sorry? And it's kind of like, guys, this is basic stuff. And once you've got that template, it's something that you can recycle for the next year. That calendar is something that we sort of restructure and rework every year.
Can you remind us all?
Yeah, I'll put
Can you start like a little
newsletter?
A little
I had a
SMS
gin for you, don't worry, Kim.
I'm like, can you tell us when these days come up?
Well, that's what the calendar's there for. There you go. Cool. All right. So just talking about PR as well, I think it's interesting to note that most publications, especially those major ones like Broadsheet, Urban Lace, Concrete Playground, in the digital space anyway, have pretty much completely turned to COVID-related content. And as a result, okay, for us, we have 3 different venues who are waiting to launch at the moment. but we're, you know, keeping an eye on sort of the media sphere to see when it's appropriate to, you know, make an announcement about a new venue. So if you are doing any PR internally, make sure you're thinking about that in terms of timelines and what publications are doing at the moment. Hypothetically, I think within 3 to 4 weeks could be a good time to start sending out messages about new venues in particular, or new incentives, new promotions that you might have going on. But just keep an eye on what's happening in the media and make sure that whatever you're doing is going to be it's going to be an appropriate time to put that message out. In addition, I know through talking to so many of you who work in hospitality, and I worked in hospo for a long time as well. So even those people who work behind bars, who are in cafes, etc., front of house, there are so many entrepreneurs out there, it's ridiculous. So many creative people work in hospitality, and I think it's worthy to note that we need to start sort of amplifying those people's thoughts. Again, just making coffee and food, it's completely different in your business. Okay, so think about it this way: once we have fought, in inverted commas, COVID, do you want your venue to stand out as this, you know, a team of people who maybe did something completely different? To give you an idea, how about hygiene in terms of COVID? So we can't use sort of communal cutlery stations anymore. We can't have communal water stations anymore. How can we make sure that everyone sanitizes as they walk into venues? And how can we collect details at the same time? Is there a piece of technology that you could create? Is there a new system that you could implement that's different to everyone else? Okay, how can you really stick out after COVID and create a reason to contact publications as well? Kim, you'll be a good one to talk to about that. Thank you, Mr. Young, but they'll come up next. Long story short, think outside the box and use that to leverage your business and the message ability that you have to pitch to publications. I did touch on this earlier, but I think location is really important too. If you are doing something of interest, even if you're launching a new menu that is somewhat interesting in terms of COVID, make sure that you're getting in touch with your local publications as well. Your local paper, for example. People are really paying a lot of attention to those kind of publications at the moment, I think, because they have more time to, quite frankly. If you're doing any paid social, for example, make sure that you're thinking about locality and the messages and the promotions that you are putting out. And again, touching on sort of the idea of local, I think more people for the rest of 2020 probably will be working from home. Think about that in terms of the way that you're putting your messaging out. Speak to your neighbors, speak to your community. Try not to go too broad, I guess, with your messaging. Excellent. Coming into a bit about social media now. Some of the highest engaging posts that I've seen recently are those where owners are speaking to the public in a very sensitive, personable manner. They're being very honest about how tough things are. You know, that story about a guy who had $8 left in his business account a few weeks ago, that's the sort of stuff that's really going to touch that emotional sensor in people, and it's going to make people really pay attention to where they're spending their money, because people care about us in hospo, quite frankly. You guys in hospo, they really care about you. So tell them that messaging. Don't be afraid of it. Don't put up that wall of, you know, look how great our food is and look how great our coffee is constantly. Get down and dirty. Tell them how hard it is, and I can guarantee it will pay off in some way, shape or form.
Also, if you've got any pollies that come into your cafes to get their morning coffee, tell them the story. Tell them how hard it is. They like to hear real stories. So make sure that they're feeling it, because they're the ones that are going to talk. And once there's an actual business that they can connect to, then they'll share that story, because Parliament needs to hear actual stories of the pain. People, their names, their families, their business type. It's really, really important to share that information. So if you do have any pollies that come in, give them a bit of a sob story.
Totally.
They need to hear it.
I will say, if ScoMo sits at your bar and has his meal there, just be careful about that messaging. I don't know if anyone, whoever came back. So, gone. I would also recommend, if you're really looking at your organic strategy, put together new content pillars for both now, you know, coming to the end of this full COVID restriction time, and then redo your content pillars as well for when you are relaunching. So start thinking about what those other new revenue streams might be, and make sure that that's a really important kind of message that you're filtering out across organic and across paid obviously as well. I think it's important to also say thanks to your supporters, your producers, etc. It's really a time to gather community, create community, and nurture community. So make sure that's an important part of your content pillars going forward. I did say here, my comedic timing is not so good, but if dogs do come into your cafe or restaurant, also take photos of them. Everyone does, in fact, love dogs. And we all know it's true. I kind of make this assumption that a lot of hospo owners know this already, but if you're not scheduling your content, please get onto it. Stop taking photos with your iPhone all the time. If you are taking iPhone content, then use it for your stories. And if you're not using something like Sketch or Later, get onto it now, because they're free and they're easy, and that way you can create your content ahead of time and post it ahead of time as well. Cool. I don't know how much you guys know about paid social either, but if you don't have a pixel on your website, get one now, please, or talk to someone who can put a pixel onto your website, and start collecting ASAP. If you're boosting posts, for example, I'd really highly recommend for you to stop spending money in that way and start thinking about overall purpose, overall strategy, and where your revenue, specifically your digital revenue streams, are. If you don't know if I'm talking jibber jabber at the moment, then talk to someone like an agency who can at the very least explain it to you. And if you do have the funds to hand off PR or social, then do it, because it makes a huge impact to your business. In addition to that, from a digital perspective, make sure that you're uploading your new menu. Make sure that you are posting about your new opening hours. And at the end of the day, start collecting data as much as you possibly can. As I said, we can help you with it. Another agency can help you with it. Kim probably has some words on this as well. And just as a little FYI, I think EDMs actually and email marketing is probably going to make a bit of a comeback to an extent. Not that we really ever lost it, but I think we're going to see people utilizing it a lot more, because people have time to pay attention to their emails right now. People are thinking local as well, so they want to know what venues in their area are doing. So start thinking about email campaigns as well. Overall, use the rest of these restricted times to really leverage your business and figure out ways to create new income, how to figure out how to automate your processes. And if you can, think as an entrepreneur, not just as a cafe, bar, or restaurant owner. You're so much more than that. Lastly, don't forget to use a marketing calendar. And if you don't have time to sort of manage that calendar, pass it off to someone else. I can guarantee if you ask a staff member to manage your content calendar, your marketing calendar, they will probably love it, because it means that they're more important in your business. I can guarantee they'll want to help and they'll be happy with it. So guys, good luck out there, big time. If you have any questions to do with the digital world or PR, please reach out. And
I've got a few questions for you, Nikki.
Yeah, awesome. Let's do it.
Well, Ken wants to know, any suggestions for events to celebrate in July and August? Because we need a Mother's Day every month. So
good question. Can I be curious to know what kind of business you have?
Yes. Ken, you going to share that on the chat? I'll give one more question as well. Nikki, what were the 2 free apps that you mentioned on social media? One was Sketch, was it?
Yep.
About scheduling.
SCHED, Sked rather, is one. Hootsuite is a really powerful tool as well. That's HOOTSUITE. And then later, later.com is free, simple, easy. If you're a visual oriented person, later is absolutely all.
So Ken's role is more of an advisor to restaurants. So he doesn't have a cafe or a restaurant, but he's a great advisor in the industry with sharing insights. So if there's any special days coming up, have a think and maybe you can post them on that chat there.
Yeah,
Nikki,
for
you
sure.
could also maybe post those. Well, I've written down a lot of notes from you, Nikki. Thank you. That was
You're welcome.
there. So really, really good information there. Let's now hand over to Kim from Mr. Yum, and you can
Thank you.
the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks for that, guys. That was super helpful. Really resonate with everything that you guys have talked about around having a bit of a period now to reset, to plan, to try and come out of it the other side different to what 3 months ago was. And you've got, this period now that, seems really, really difficult, but we've got government support, compared to most of the world. We're in a much better position. So we can, use this time to map out some strategies. And I think if we look back on what happened with retail and what happened with the GFC, they've actually come out stronger in a lot of ways by discovering digital. So I guess I echo some of Nikki's points there, like hospitality is absolutely core to our culture, and service is a big part of that, but a little bit of digital and a little bit of connecting with your customers outside of your four walls and outside of your space is equally as important, because people forget, like people are used to getting reminded all day, every day about the brands that they love. And as a hospitality business, we can't be any different to that. So thanks, guys. That was an awesome introduction to what I'll share today. I won't go into, I'll keep it pretty brief and actually try and field more questions as well. I will maybe share my screen now. So a bit of an intro to myself and Miss Yum. At first I thought I wouldn't do a presentation, then I thought it's such a visual product that I'd probably put something together. Mr. Yum is a visual menu and an ordering solution. So we really play in the space around helping hospitality businesses get online. And that's everything from cafes to pubs to bars to events to stadiums so it's really how do you create a digital connection with your customers inside the venue and then also outside of the venue. We are Melbourne based, about 600-ish venues alive with Mr. Yum at the moment. And I'll try and share, I guess, what I've learned over the last 3 months just by being super involved in talking to venues all the time. The first one's probably mine. Life is pretty miserable without cafes, restaurants, pubs and bars to go to. It's definitely been a pretty sad 3 months without interactive and awesome venues to go into, but we've also really enjoyed ordering takeaway and ordering takeout from our favorite local venues and supporting them that way. The second one, businesses that built a brand with a digital connection to their customers were just immediately in the best position to navigate COVID. The second all of this happened, I remember on the 23rd of March and even the week before when it was clear that restaurants and cafes and pubs would have to shut at some point. The businesses with a brand, they could immediately spin out things like cookbooks, or they could immediately leverage the brand that they'd built to get online and sell things to their customers. If they didn't already have an e-commerce store, they could put one up, whether it's on Mr. Yum or something else. They could put up an online ordering platform and be able to sell the products and services or products that they'd built their brand around over time. So that's probably a really important one, and I think plays to Nikki's strength around comms and marketing and PR. And the third one is use this as a chance to reset your business. We have, even though it's been really hard, sometimes we jump on the phone with really great operators and they are they're actually like, oh man, I've just had 8 weeks to actually like step away from the business a little bit, not be so day to day. Think about what the business was like before. Were you pumped about the numbers? Were you, were you actually paying yourself right? Were you actually profitable? And try something drastically different, or try something new to actually create the business that you want. And the best thing about it, over the last 2 weeks, we've seen as venues have started to reopen, customers are just so much more open-minded to doing things differently. And they're more welcome to change than ever before, because they understand that whether it's partially down to restrictions, or whether it's, partially down to hospitality wanting to reinvigorate their businesses, like they're up for something new. And actually, more than ever before, you have an opportunity to like reopen with something different. The fourth one, delivery is a growing trend. It's here to stay. Uber Eats and Deliveroo have been like absolutely, it's been carnage in the media around the fees that they take, the 35%, and then eventually reducing their fees to 30%. Their business is strong and their business is growing, and that's purely, not because they're not getting complaints from the venue side, but it's the insatiable customer demand for it. People just love sitting at home. They love sitting on their couch. They love getting food delivered to them. So I think it's not easy. It's not going to be great to completely ignore that trend. It's important to realize that growth is going to be much faster, or I would say even like 10x any level of in-venue spend over the next 5 years. And so if you want to ride that wave, you've got this sweet 3 months where you're hopefully being supported by some level of JobKeeper support to kind of figure that out, and experiment with delivery. See if you can find a sustainable way to do delivery. And if not, then you would have given it a shot and know that it's not for you guys, and know that it's not for your business. But if you do find something that works, then it can be a really powerful, scalable part of your business that you continue to ride over the next 5 years. So I guess the insight there is around, from a consumer point of view, delivery is not going away. So I think the brands that find a way to do that, and to do that well, and to do that profitably, will thrive over the next 5 years. And then the last one is absolutely echoing what Terry said. Get ready for post 30th of September. It's definitely a bubble at the moment. Everyone is operating under restrictions, of course, but also at the same time, it's not full wages and not full cost base. So we've got a good 3 months to try and experiment, try something new. I'll run through these, I guess, misty slides pretty quickly. I don't want to dwell on it too much. We have a website that's easy to navigate, and you can jump on there if you want more information. And I'll try and, while talking about Misty, also explain the things that we've learned and the things that have been successful, and the venues that are actually thriving through having a online ordering solution. We are a web-based online ordering platform, so it's not an app at all. You don't have to download, and being frictionless has been a really big part of venues having the ability to say everyone's doing this. So we've got venues currently running on 100% of orders going through Misty, whether that's in the restaurant, outside of the restaurant, and they can do that because it's web-based. So that's been pretty key. You can offer your customers any combination of pickup, delivery, and table ordering from the one platform. The biggest driver of the numbers working is actually around the average order value increasing by, and it's 20 to 65%. And I kind of like hate saying that because it sounds a little bit unbelievable, but I'll show you some tables and data around that to kind of bring that to life a little bit. And we charge for 0.5% per order, which includes payment fees, includes GST. We don't break anything up. There's no locking contracts, no upfront cost. It's like the simplest pricing model there. And then of course groups and multi-site discounts are are available. So this is just, I guess, a profile of, we do pubs and bars, we do cafes, yeah, work with some of the best cafe brands, restaurants, and as well events. So we've been, yeah, really pushing pretty hard into events with Live Nation, who are the biggest music promoter in the world. And then with the, I guess, the cafes, we've got, you know, St. Ali, the Mulberry Group, Prouds, that are rolling out with us, and the Grain Store in the city just jumped on board. So yeah, some good brands there that are iconic cafe brands. So, you know, I guess we share this because sometimes there's fear around being the only ones that are doing it, and everyone's thinking about this stuff. So yeah, you're definitely not the only one, and consumers are more welcome to this change now than they've ever been before. I guess our vision has always been around, you know, a single URL, your website, your URL that powers what we call omni-channel sales. And omni-channel sales is just a catchphrase for in venue and outside of the venue being combined into one. It's a real like retail terminology that is used. So you go on a retail store website, and when you walk into the store, how does Apple know that that is your browsing behavior? How does Apple know that you've looked at the MacBook Pro 15-inch, you know, 5 times before? So they try and create this omni-channel experience, which is that when a customer walks in the door, that you know who they are, that you know what they've ordered, that you can sell them something before, so they can pre-order some entrees, a couple of glasses of wine, they can get into the venue, order while they're in the venue, upsold, like you know, if you're a brewery, upsold a carton of the pint that they've had, you know, twice that day. Or if you're a restaurant that there's like a wine that they really love, how can you get that? How can you get that for take home? That they can order delivery a week later from exactly the same URL, and that they can return to the venue 2 weeks later using some kind of discount code. So yeah, we have a bit of our obsession around connecting the in-venue and the outside of venue experience. Of course, you have to do it through marketing and PR, and you know, there's more to it than just your website. But yeah, all in one is really the vision for the Mr. Yum product. So 20 to 65%. I wanted to show some data on this stuff because it's pretty unbelievable. We did takeaway with Mr. Miyagi when they you know, when COVID hit, and this was some data around the first 10 days of doing a takeaway with Mr. Miyagi. Their Uber Eats orders were averaging $57.23, and their orders of Mr. Yum were averaging $85.39, which is 49% higher than on Uber Eats. Same day, same time, exactly the same menu. And then the Mr. Yum orders were 65% higher than walk-ins and phone orders. So walk-ins and phone orders were $51.86 compared to $85.39 on Mr. Yum, with actually like really decent volume, because 250 and 520, etc. So yeah, some statistics around how having a digital platform can upsell and cross-sell, and like the visuals are just more appealing. Like there's all sorts of reasons why e-commerce retail has always done better than in-store retail, and it's around consumers' digital behavior that we're just taking from the e-commerce world of best practices and bringing that to the hospitality world as well. And then we've done a rollout with the Australian Venue Co, who are second biggest hospo group in Australia, with now they've got 160 pubs. So we've rolled out into 160. This is a little bit old. And their average transaction value on Mr. Yum versus across the bar was 30% higher across millions of dollars of transactions. So some pretty big set of data there, and quite widely across a very big a data set. So, and even with cafes, we did it with Acre, and that was sitting at 20%. So yeah, lots of data points to show that just having some level of digital ordering solution can increase your average order value. And actually the best example of this is McDonald's. They put in those kiosks because it was increasing their average order by 9%. So it wasn't like they weren't trying to, you know, save on labor costs or anything. They were, purely trying to increase the customization and the options, and a bit of guilt-free ordering as well. Just some features, descriptions, language translations, upselling and cross-selling, and dietary tags. And how it works is, and this is quite similar to, you'll see there's other solutions as well. So QR codes have become way more widely used in the last few months now with, contact tracing. Like almost every venue that you go to, it's a QR code to bring up a contact tracing of some sort. We've got contact tracing built into our platform as well, so you can have a guest register. But yeah, we use the same. So you can either do QR code on its own or QR code plus an NFC to order and pay. And this is to Nikki's point around marketing. We really, really want to help venues create their own marketing engine. If you want to walk away from the Uber Eats and Deliveroo's of the world, you've got to figure out how to do your own marketing and actually know your customer, because they will never let you even talk to the customer or know who they are. And if you want to control that spend and you want to control that demand, then you've got to capture that customer data somewhere. So we, capture customer emails, phone numbers. We actually have a Facebook pixel tool built into every menu, and you can put in your Facebook pixel and it tracks every person that goes on your ordering platform, whether it's takeaway, delivery, or dine in, and you can retarget those customers very cheaply, much more cheaply than you can do run cold ads. Drive loyalty and repeat purchases with like discounts and voucher codes, and then like specials, that's pretty normal, but like happy hours, or automated based on time, day, or date. And we're really just starting in this space. We've got heaps more ideas around how you can know your customer way better than you've ever known them before. How do you know when a VIP walks in the door? How do you know that someone who's just ordered has actually come into the venue 5 times in the last 6 weeks, and that they've ordered the same bottle of wine each time? So that's the kind of information and data that you can capture through digital ordering that is possible through non-digital as well, but a lot less easy.
Hey Kim, we're going to have to go a little bit faster. We're losing a few people because I think they have to get back to work.
Oh, no worries. That's all right. I can finish up pretty quickly. The last one's really around delivery, and everyone said, I think there's a lot of curiosity around delivery, and there's also a lot of intimidation around it because it's kind of hard to manage and hard to do. The key to delivery of what we found is that through the tools that the tool that has enabled it to be is that you can increase your average order value. So you can set a minimum order value on Miss DM. You can say like, I don't want to do any deliveries under $30. And you can say, I want to have a $5 delivery fee, and if it's over $80, it will do delivery for free. So our average order value is $67 compared to $34 on Uber Eats, which is how you are able to do deliveries for actually a cost that you can manage. So if that's something that you want to explore, I think it's now a good time to do it before you've got a full restaurant, before you've got a full cafe as well, when you've got a lower cost base than you did before. And that's pretty much it. So final words, try and get ahead. We've got 3 months to try new stuff and implement new processes, new strategies, like marketing strategies. Do your budget, get ready for a reset, and try and get ahead of the next 10 years, hopefully, before we get another such event like COVID. But let's try and rebuild from here.
We've had a couple of questions come through.
Oh.
Let me just have a look. Another one about the 1 person per 4 square meter. At this point, we haven't heard anything more that they're going to reduce that. I know that in Queensland they seem to have some different limits between regional areas and CBD, but they are very, very regional areas that they're doing that. But for New South Wales and Victoria, I don't see that happening anytime soon. I know that you're in Jindabyne and you've only got a couple of short months of winter. There's another question here about Jindabyne as well. Restaurant in the snow with tables outside. The rules with people sitting on them. In your defined dining area from next Monday I'm assuming you're in Victoria, you can have 50 people. that are socially distanced, one person per 4 square meters in that defined dining area. So whatever area is defined outside, the same rules apply as per inside. Won't matter if you put a marquee over them, won't change any of the rules. You do need to take all details. So either a platform like Mr. Yum, or there's Guest HQ, or a few different ways that you can do it with a QR code. But you do need to, even with a pen and paper, you need to make sure you're recording everyone's details. I don't think that there's any more questions that I've missed there. You need to buy an on to take away, Angie. I know you say that they're not on board with that, but I know it's cold, but they need to rug up. They need to help you with that takeaway. It's here to stay in dining. And also I think David mentioned that View Delivery is a whole separate business. You know, it's here to stay. As Kim said, we've got a guest appearance with Nikki. A lot of kind of dark kitchens are popping up, or having that extra, if you don't want to use your own brand, but using, you know, creating a new brand that functions out of your business is also a way that people are making that second business work with delivery. So again, being creative, but I hope everybody walked away today with a few tips. I think some key things that I walked away with is creating a roadmap, getting all these roadmaps created for us of when we're going to open, but create your own roadmap. Thank you, Terry. Have a marketing plan with all those key dates. So important. Basic, but really, really important. Creating some merch. I want one of those Attica t-shirts. I actually got a t-shirt from St. Ali last week, and it's great. And if you can sell it, get it on a store, get it retail, have some passive income coming in. Make sure your message is appropriate for the time that we're in at the moment. And working from home, you know, maybe there's a way we can capitalize on broadening as I forget who mentioned it, I think it was Kim. You know, people are working from home, they will be till the end of the year. So making sure that we're remembering that in our brand strategy and what we're trying to achieve, and how important brand is. So thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate your time and today, and thanks for coming. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Kim. Any questions, although you know where we are, so come and pick up the phone or send us a message, and we'll do this again in the future. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
See you later.
Yeah.